Hello, beautiful people of the world. So, this is definitely a broad topic. There are um, thousands upon thousands of different opinions. And it seems that between the medical world, the scientific world, and the spiritual world, there is not a lot of consensus when it comes to the best approach to health and nutrition. So, I'm going to explain some of the basics that I believe are true regardless of the modality. Sorry about my sniffling. I have allergies. Um, I think that as a general rule, it's better to only eat fruit, tea, and water or fruit juice before 12 p.m. Typically, that's when your body is detoxing everything from the previous day and while you were sleeping, and your stomach's not really ready to fully process and absorb a lot of dense, heavy material. So, and I think it's a good idea to consume fruit at least once a day. And I believe that organic local fruits, when possible, are the best, as well as seasonal. So, for example, I live in Northern America in a more cold climate. So, for me right now over the summer, apples, blueberries, blackberries, raspberries, cherries, those things are all able to be grown up here. There's farms up here, and I can get some of it locally, some not. So things like pineapples and oranges and avocados and all of these tropical kinds of fruit, while delicious, if you don't really live in a tropical environment or with a hot climate, and things like this, usually a lot of foods being shipped, at least in America, is being shipped from Mexico and California. And you're just going to be losing some of the nutritional value and alignment that you would get otherwise if you can do fresh, local, seasonal, organic fruit. Um, it's not something that really needs to be eaten in excess, and you don't really want to mix it with anything else. So my recommendation is just before 12 o'clock, have some tea and a piece of fruit, or just skip it or have some water, depending on how you're feeling. I think that's kind of the best way to start your day rather than just diving into something really heavy. Let your body wake up, stretch, breathe, get some sunlight, air, that kind of a thing. As for lunch, I think it doesn't really need to be at any specific time or anything like that. Between 12 o'clock and 7 o'clock is really when your stomach and body is ready to take in, assimilate, break down everything that you're eating. Even if you can get away with having all your food before like 6 o'clock, you will do a lot better for that, because you really shouldn't be eating anything at least 3 or 4 hours before you're going to go to sleep. So for a lot of people, let's average that at like 10 or 11 o'clock. So really, it would be better to stop eating around 6, 7, or 8 o'clock, because when you eat really late at night, your digestive system has shut down for the evening, and it's just going to sit there in your stomach while you're sleeping, which isn't good for a lot of different reasons. But anyway, so for the middle of the day, it really depends on where you're at vibrationally. I have been vegan, I've been vegetarian. Right now, I'm an omnivore. I was vegan for about 5 years, and I got Lyme disease, and my body just started changing, and my requirements are different, and my nutritional demands are different. And I still try to be ethical when it is available and things like this, and I still eat lots of vegan types of food. Um, I want to just put this out there. There is a lot in the spiritual community that if you are vegan, then people think that they're more enlightened or closer to um, some kind of perfected form, and that they know better and that they're much healthier and all of these things. And while that might be true for you, maybe going on a lighter, more plant-based diet would bring you more knowledge and enlightenment. I know that it has for me. It is not the one and only way. And assuming that people that consume animal products are any more or less holy than you is really damaging, I think, within both communities. Um, so I just wanted to put that out there. Like, you're not a horrible person for whatever you do. It's true that animal agriculture has gotten way out of hand in terms of ethics and environmental responsibilities and even like health and chemicals and things like this. And this will eventually be addressed over time. However, it is a huge part of our culture, and I don't think it was born from bad intentions. I think it was born from farmers with an increasing demand as our population skyrocketed, and we have 300 million people to feed in this country alone. So I think that's really where it came from, and it's really not very enlightened to put other people down for the way that they are trying to survive. And of course, organic vegan foods can oftentimes be very privileged. You need to have more of an income to be able to dispense on health foods. Unfortunately, right now, that is true. So I don't want to discount that. It has a lot to do with accessibility, but I just wanted to make that as a disclaimer before I kind of go into that. But typically, what you're going to want is to have at least a couple vegetables every day if you can get away with it. Local, organic, fresh, that's always going to be the case. Seasonal, always going to be the case. So this really depends on where you live in the world. For me, it's a lot of dark leafy greens, kale, carrots, root vegetables, things like this. Um, but it might be totally different depending on what kind of a climate that you live in and what's available to you and what you're able to buy. And of course, it's very difficult to live totally locally, organically, seasonally. Even if you have great stores, things are shipped from all over the world at various times. And it's just kind of part of how we get groceries. So you don't need to be like so strict about anything. That's going to cause you to just really go out of your way to do random things. Um, and so let yourself just live and live intuitively and listen to your body and try not to feel guilty, either for eating or for not eating or anything like that, because that will only complicate the issues here. But so just getting a couple vegetables in between 12 and 8 is a really good idea. One or two meals is fine. This whole like breakfast, lunch, dinner thing is oftentimes too much food. We don't really need to be overeating that much. The morning, as much as people say eat breakfast like a king, I feel like heavy in the morning is difficult. That's just my opinion. There are a lot of people that say that you should eat most of your food in the beginning of the day. Um, but really just maybe eating a meal at 2 o'clock and 6 o'clock or noon and 5, whatever feels comfortable for you. It doesn't need to be so excessive, and you don't need to timestamp everything and have it be so rigid. That's just the American culture is kind of a 3 meal setup. But if you're not hungry, then skip a meal and have it the next one. So a couple vegetables, and then protein's definitely important. You want to do one protein a day, whether for you that means cheese mixed in with an omelet, whether for you that means some chicken breast roasted in a pan, whether that means going to Chipotle and getting just some rice and beans with some peppers and lettuce. Um, you know, it's going to depend on where you're at with the kind of food choices that you make. But in general, there are many ways to go. If you do animal based, obviously there is a variety of proteins available to everybody. Typically, it's better to eat leaner cuts of meat in the summertime, such as chicken, turkey, duck, poultry, and fish, really. And then, maybe some lamb, venison, rabbit, depending on what you have. And in the winter months, more beef and pork and buffalo, these heavier cuts of meat will allow you to get what you need to get done. Eggs are good, but it's not a good idea to eat too many of them because our stomachs aren't able to digest um, all of that vitamin, protein, mineral rich stuff. A lot of it we can, but we can't fully digest all of it. And so eating a lot of eggs is going to cause you to probably have a stomach ache or not be able to fully process everything. But even like 2 a day or every other day is really fine. Um, and a lot of people, especially vegetarians, will be relying on that. Cheese does have some protein in it, but you also don't want to go too heavy on dairy, whether you eat it or not, just because it can cause a lot of mucus buildup in the body and it can cause a lot of weight gain. And if neither of those things are what you're looking for, then just be careful. If you have access to goat's milk, that typically works with our bodies a lot better than cow's milk does. And if you are lactose intolerant, then having like yogurt or kefir or cottage cheese or anything that's a little bit more fermented, soft, and broken down is definitely going to sit with your body better than like a solid hunk of ice cream or a block of cheese or something like that. Um, but typically, that's a way to also get some protein on a vegetarian lifestyle. And then all the plant-based options, there are so many beans. There are so many different kinds of legumes, nuts, seeds, grains. It's really good to pair a legume and a grain together. So whether you make a really delicious dal or lentil soup, pour it over some rice, or if you want to make a pita and fill it with hummus and a bunch of different vegetables, that's going to give you a really complete meal. So typically you want to do a protein and a vegetable or a starch and a vegetable and some kind of combination of this as a meal at least one time during the day. And that will really be awesome to you. As far as dessert, I mean, sugar's really dangerous. I would avoid white flour, sugar, heavy amounts of salt and oil because these things are very agitative to the system and they're going to make you just crave and endlessly want and desire more things. They kind of elicit greed and gluttony a little bit, and they are just very high intensity because it's very rare to find sugar in nature and high amounts of fat unless it's animal fat, and you would typically use that to put on weight for a winter or save it for a long time. And salt also was not always a big part of our diet. It's just we've found large amounts of it and how to store it and things like this. But I would avoid that and processed foods in general when you can, to each their own. Um, Especially in America, it can be very difficult to eat healthily. Um, I'm all tangled here. Drinking plenty of water is very important. If you don't have good tap water, try to get a filter, or the best thing to do is drink spring water. And if you can't do that, distilled water. Depending on where you live, you can also get your water locally. You can collect rainwater, things like this. Just do more research and kind of feel into it intuitively what you need. As far as supplements, if you're taking a lot of vitamins and you notice that your pee is bright yellow, then it's too much and it's too much for your body and you don't need all of it. It's much better to eat your vitamins and minerals rather than take a pill. But in general, including sea vegetables like seaweed, dulse, and kelp and things like this into your diet, whether that's through sushi or kind of a topping, can really give you a lot of those things and is a really good replacement for iodine. There's also nutritional yeast, alfalfa sprouts, spirulina, chlorophyll. There are more natural alternatives in ways to get what you need. And if you're lacking in certain vitamins and minerals, it's almost always found in fruit and vegetables. So just up your fruit and vegetables and you'll probably be fine. Um, if you have a very sensitive stomach, make sure to include probiotics. That could be yogurt, that could be kombucha, that could be kimchi, sauerkraut, pickles. Um, Anything like that will really help your digestion. Also, sweet potatoes and bananas can be really calming. Peppermint and mint made into a tea or put into food is also very good for your digestive system, as well as lavender and chamomile, nettle. There are quite a lot of things. Dandelion can really help um, ground your GI tract as well. So this is just some very general advice and stuff that I've picked up and learned from various teachers. Ooh, I found a tick. I got it. Various teachers that I have studied and learned from over the years and my self-love journey. This is definitely a big part of it. This is definitely a part of root chakra themed stuff. So thank you guys so much for listening. I will be back doing a few of these for other species, because I feel like what we feed our dogs and cats is really important for their health, for preventative medicine and all these kinds of things. So I really appreciate all the love and support and just kind of having the freedom to do different kinds of videos, and hope that you guys enjoy that. So have a beautiful day.